Blessed are the eyes that see what you see. For I tell you, many kings and prophets have desired to see what you see, and have not seen it. To hear what you hear, and have not heard it. I thank you, Father, for hiding these things from the learned and the wise, and revealing them to the innocent and the simple.
مرحبا. يمكن هي آخر يوم تسمعوا صوتي وتشوفوني. أنا اسمي ياسمين قيموز، عمري 10 سنين. صار لي سنتين في دار الأيتام، صار لي سنتين فاقدة بابا وماما من وضع الطيران. بوجه الرسالة لحقوق الإنسان، لحقوق الأطفال، لحقوق الإنسان لكل هالدنيا. بتمنى أن تطالعونا من حلب. هون في 47 طفل، كلهم هون اخواتي، ونحن هون نتمنى انه نطلع من حلب وناكل ونشرب. نحن هون بنحب السلام. نحن ما عم نحسن نطلع لبرا لانه في طيران، في قصف، في طيران، لانه ما عم نحسن نطلع لبرا مشان هيك عم نخاف من القصف والطيران. نتمنى انه تطالعونا من حلب بقى.
Tonight, harrowing reports of President Assad's forces carrying out summary executions on innocent civilians in Aleppo. The UN claiming more than 80 people shot on sight, including 24 women and children, leaving bodies lying in the streets. A spokesman calling the reports a complete meltdown of humanity. Tonight, the ceasefire now declared, with much of the information coming out nearly impossible to verify. A Syrian general calling the charges of executions baseless. The latest fighting right near where we reported from just days ago. Because now the rebels are lobbing mortars. There have been chilling pleas from those who say they were trapped in the horror.
More than 50,000 of civilians are threatened with field executions.
Today, the mass exodus, women and children with empty stares seeking safety. Where they go from here, far from certain.
Tonight, the death toll in the Turkish terror attacks climbing to 38. 30 of them police officers, targeted in near-simultaneous blasts at a soccer stadium. Militants linked to the Kurdish rebel group, the PKK, claiming responsibility. The government vowing revenge tonight, stepping up the fight against the recent wave of terror attacks in Turkey, terror that is spreading. In Egypt, an attack on Cairo's largest Christian church. Eyewitnesses say a woman planted more than 26 pounds of explosives hidden in a bag, shattering what was a solemn Sunday service. At least 24 killed, most were women and children. The columns were smoldering, people strewn on the floor and on the walls, this man says. Everything was broken. Outside, the outrage and anger erupting, protests against terrorism, demanding national unity.
The Syrian Observatory for Human Rights said there had been a suspected gas attack in Islamic State-held territory near Palmyra on Monday. Citing local sources, the organization said there were cases of suffocation. Dozens had been wounded during heavy rocket fire on the area. The reported gas attack came from the air, though the observatory didn't specify who might have been responsible. But a news service linked to Islamic State said that Russia was behind the attack, adding that sarin gas was involved. Both the Syrian army and Russia have denied using chemical weapons.
Islamic State militants have recaptured the ancient city of Palmyra from Syrian troops. It's a major victory for ISIS, coming at a time when many thought the Islamic radicals were on the retreat. Islamic State militants were driven out of Palmyra by Syrian and Russian forces 9 months ago. A Russian spokesman said many of the Islamic State fighters involved in the Palmyra assault had recently fled from the Iraqi city of Mosul.
And a suicide bombing on Saturday in Yemen, claimed to be carried out by ISIL, has killed at least 48 Yemeni soldiers, and officials say another 29 were wounded in the attack. The bombing occurred in the southern port city of Aden when a bomber detonated his explosive belt as hundreds of troops were gathering to collect their monthly pay at the Al Solaban military camp. Local authorities have been pressing on with their campaign against the militant group for several months already, as the jihadists are active in both the southern and eastern parts of the country. ISIL and Al-Qaeda militant group have also carried out a series of attacks in Aden.
Now overseas, Kurdish and Iraqi forces are still working to drive ISIS out of Mosul, but Christians are unlikely to return there even if that happens. A new report on minority groups in Iraq and Syria says Christian refugees from that city were suffering persecution even before ISIS took over. Nearly 75% reported facing threats and violence. Overall, Iraq's population of Christians has fallen from 700,000 to 250,000 since 2003, and most are internally displaced.
Heavy lake effect snow and a blizzard warning in Calumet, Michigan stopped some drivers right in their tracks, making walking the quickest mode of transportation, even in 4 degrees. Farther east, in Buffalo, New York, whiteout conditions forced a battle between man and nature. The combination of snowfall and whipping 45-mile-per-hour winds led to stressful white-knuckle driving in Watertown.
Powerful storms and high tides in Northern California today could slow efforts to fill a large sinkhole. Crews have been working to fill the 15-foot hole along the coast. It first appeared on Saturday.
A 15-foot section of the trail just dropped away into the ocean. The trail is now off limits as crews pump concrete and sand into the massive sinkhole. This is only the latest effort to stop erosion of the cliff here that has been falling away for decades.
Yemen's suffering is most raw in its children. At 12 years old, Abdul weighs 11 kilograms, little more than the average 1-year-old. Every step he takes is painful, and he's being kept alive by the tube through his nose into his stomach. 2 of his brothers are also emaciated, but his family's poor and they're spending the little money they have trying to save him right now. He's desperately hungry, but he's so malnourished, it's an enormous effort trying to swallow. And he doesn't manage it. His despair and his wretchedness is not isolated. Near Yemen's northern border with Saudi Arabia, they've suffered some of the worst destruction of the war. In parts of Sadr city, no building's been left untouched. The airstrikes, for nearly 2 years now by the Saudi-led coalition, are backed by Britain, America and France. Parts of Yemen have been bombed back to the Middle Ages. The director of this boys' school wants an international investigation into why children's education centres are being attacked.
This is a big crime, a war crime, because this is an educational area with no weapons. They are affecting education. They want to stop students learning.
The boys' school was hit 11 times. The 2 deep pockmarks in the earth are where 2 of the bombs landed. When the boys were moved to the nearby girls' school, that was attacked too. Could British weapons have been used by the Saudis to bomb civilian targets? The Yemenis believe so.
First we thought Britain was a friend. But now we feel the British government are criminals because of what's happening here. They're committing crimes, killing children and pregnant women.
In amongst American cluster bombs in Sadr city, we found a nose cone for the British-made Storm Shadow cruise missile, arguably the most advanced weapon of its kind.
If you open in the middle, this looks, this has definitely got a UK sign on it.
The remnant was found in Sadr 4 days earlier. The locals are adamant they've been hit by British cluster bombs too. We were shown pictures of UK-made cluster bombs said to have been found in the city and now circulating amongst Yemenis. Britain agreed 6 years ago to ban them and stop their use by anyone else.
He said we have found previously a lot of bombs, Britain bombs. That's why I think so. It is a Britain.
Yemen bomb disposal teams can't keep pace with the air onslaught, and British bombs keep on turning up. It's from UK, he says. The Houthi rebels' new Prime Minister gave his first interview since his appointment to Sky News and immediately accused Britain of war crimes in Yemen.
باعت القنابل العنقودية للسعودية.
They have sold the cluster bombs for Saudi Arabia.
وهي تعرف أنها تقصد بها مدنيين.
And they know exactly they are going to drop them here in Yemen.
في محافظة صعدة.
In Sa'da province.
وفي العاصمة صنعاء.
And in
وفي عدد المحافظات.
capital Sana'a and different provinces.
لكن الحكومة البريطانية السابقة والحالية مشتركتان مع العدو السعودي الذي يقصف المدن اليمنية.
With the ex-government of Britain and the current ones are participating with the bombing and airstrikes here in Yemen.
So you think they're guilty of war crimes? In your eyes, Britain is also guilty of war crimes?
لا نحن لا نعتقد، نحن نؤمن أنهم مشتركين اشتراك مباشر وجريمة حرب. نعم.
Yeah, he doesn't think so. He believes that they are war crimes because they are participating.
The war has meant more than half the country is short of food. That's 14 million people. The reality for children is even worse. Faisal's just one of the staggering 300,000 toddlers in Yemen starving to death. But to his mother, he's not a statistic. He's her 2-year-old son. She just doesn't have the means to help him. Ghania's so weak herself she doesn't react as her 8-month-old baby thrashes around in pain. She's been feeding her little girl on just water and flour. Milk is an unobtainable luxury. The roads are peppered with women and children reduced to begging for scraps from passing strangers. The destruction of the infrastructure and the blockade on imports has been crippling. The Houthi rebel areas and those in them are now running out of cash, so the medics at the main hospital in the capital, Sana'a, are working now unpaid.
You know, since September in this hospital we haven't any salaries. They gave us last month half salary of September.
The UK-educated doctor is now dealing with a significant outbreak of cholera. It's been caused by their compromised hygiene and the widespread lack of clean water. Amongst the desperately ill patients, a boy with no name, abandoned by his parents who couldn't cope with war and a sick child, who's now brain damaged. He's been here for 10 months, being cared for by nurse Faiza, who loves him like her own.
But we don't know what to do. We cannot just throw him. He's a human being. Even he's handicapped, cannot throw him.
As the desperation grows, so does the anger. Thousands turned out in Sana'a to show their support for a new Houthi government. For these people, there's no way back for President Hadi, the man they hounded out of the capital and who Saudi is supporting.
The chants against America are growing stronger, and also is the hatred against all those taking part or even supporting this coalition of bombing, and that includes Britain.
Britain is making fresh enemies, whether or not it's a proxy war between Saudi and its regional rival Iran. Even those who don't support the Houthis now detest America and Britain. This conflict could be storing up dangerous problems for the future.